Welcome to Ashland Falls, home of charming scenery, friendly neighbors, and one very pissed off ghost. Today we're diving into 825 Forest Road, a movie that asks the age-old question. What's worse than moving to a small town after a family tragedy? Realizing the local real estate comes with a complimentary haunting by a ghost from the 40s. So grab your flashlights, sage bundles, and emotional baggage. We're going ghost hunting. We kick things off at maximum teen girl energy, FaceTime, and moaning about being grounded forever. Meet Natalie, bitter, betrayed, and banished from the outside world because her mom found the books on Ashland Falls. Mom was not thrilled and marched her to return them like they were overdue library books from hell. On the other end of the call is Ashley, her best friend and co-conspirator in supernatural stupidity. Ashley, ever the cryptic queen, drops a bombshell. She has a new theory about the house. You know, the house, 825 Forest Road, the one with more baggage than a discount airline. Just then someone knocks on Ashley's bedroom door. But Ashley's entire family is out of town. So, who exactly is knocking? Natalie's spidey senses start tingling through the screen. Ashley, being a horror movie heroine in training, doesn't scream, cry, or immediately jump out the window. No, she opens the door. And of course, no one's there. But Ashley doesn't stop there. She starts wandering through her empty house. Every hallway looks like a jump scare waiting to happen. She eventually circles back to her room, empty-handed and increasingly unsettled. No one's there, she tells Natalie. Try to play it cool. Natalie, who's not grounded from her common sense, begs her to come over. Like now. But Ashley declines and shuts the door. And just when things feel like they can't get worse, bang. The door she just closed nearly comes off its hinges. Ashley freezes. Slowly, she turns to face the camera. The fear crawls up her spine. She whispers Natalie's name. Fade to black. We are switching lanes to Chuck and Maria, a married couple doing what all horror movie couples do best, buying a suspiciously affordable house in a town that sounds like a Stephen King sneeze, Ashland Falls. Enter Bonnie, their realtor, practically bouncing as she leads them through the front door claiming, "It's big and cheap." Chuck and Maria aren't stupid. They've watched Dateline. They know when something is too good to be true. So they ask the obvious question. Why is this giant house in the middle of nowhere priced like a used Toyota? Bonnie, not missing a beat, assures them that there are no dead bodies in the basement. She keeps the pitch rolling, explaining the house is just old, not murdery. Solid infrastructure, she chirps. Updated plumbing. Translation, you'll die of paranormal trauma, not black mold. According to Bonnie, the only reason it's still on the market is because no one is moving into Ashland Falls. Oh, and let's not forget the bonus character. Chuck's sister Isabel will be moving in with them, at least for her first semester. The next day, Chuck's on the phone with Bonnie the realtor, reporting that their new dream home has sprung a few leaks. As he snaps a pic of two sad little buckets trying their best in the living room, the whole scene screams instant regret, just add water. Like a dutiful husband on a mission, Chuck heads to Maria's studio to assess the water damage situation and walks straight into her mid-live stream. She's explaining the leaky drama to her fans like it's quirky content. Chuck then notices Martha, a full-size, very vintage, very unsettling mannequin standing silently in the corner behind Maria like she's waiting to possess someone. He quietly freaks out in that, "Why is this in my house" kind of way. But Maria insists on keeping her because she is the only thing left from her New York studio. Chuck's out poking around the house, trying to play DIY detective on those pesky leaks, when up strolls Larry, the neighbor. He offers his condolences about the roof situation, which Chuck blames on the apparently dishonest previous owner. But Larry, all too happy to drop a mood killer, informs him that the seller can't exactly defend himself because he unalived himself. Just great. Chuck's back on the phone with Bonnie. She's all, "Wow, the listing said the roof was new. Weird. Yeah, Bonnie, real weird. Did your inspector even look up? Or was he too busy licking lead paint chips off the walls?" Chuck, who's had enough BS for one renovation project, informs her that he personally scaled the roof and it's ancient. While Bonnie mumbles something about figuring it out, Chuck scrolls through the photos he took of the leaky buckets. Except one of them now features a shotgun chilling in the background like it's always lived there. Chuck slams the laptop shut, hangs up on Bonnie, and stares into the abyss. It's the next day and way too early for the level of what the hell Chuck's about to experience. But there he is, bleary-eyed in the bathroom, glancing out the window when he spots something off in the backyard. Cut to him yelling at Maria to wake up and go check out of the window. Maria, now fully awake and fully pissed, storms out yelling, "How the hell did it get out there?" Chuck walks into the yard, and there she is, Martha, the mannequin, just standing in the middle of the lawn. Enter Larry, the neighbor. He asks what's up, and Chuck, still staring at his new lawn ornament, guesses maybe Isabel thought it'd be funny. You know, edgy teen humor. Larry then does a hard left into mental health territory, asking how Isabel's doing and referencing what Maria apparently told him about Chuck and Isabel's mom. Then things get seriously weird. Larry starts talking about how Ashland Falls has had a streak of unalivings and how those already prone to depression are the most susceptible to her. That's right, her, capital H. Chuck's like, "I'm sorry, who the hell is her?" But Larry just smiles and drops one last cryptic bomb. The town has a great library, and friends of gardening are welcome, whatever that means. Chuck does what any newly haunted homeowner would do. He hits the library, because when your mannequin moves by itself and your neighbor drops lore like she targets the depressed, it's clearly time to read up. On the way to the register, he passes a pile of books dumped on the floor. Like mid-aisle, he stares at it like it's going to rearrange itself into a pentagram. Before he can keep walking, a voice croaks, "Don't." He turns, and there she is. Ashley. Remember her? Now she's looking less teen FaceTime gossip and more apocalyptic ghost messenger with red-rimmed eyes and makeup that screams, "I know things that'll rot your brain." She gives him the old, "It's real. Leave now, forget this place" routine. Chuck gives her a nod and backs away slowly. At the register, a teenage girl in peak "I hate this job" mode lazily scans Chuck's books and casually drops, "You know you can't find 825 Forest Road." Nobody can. Chuck's like, "Girl, I'm here for nonfiction, not Narnia. Chill." Then he does the decent thing and tells her and the ancient librarian next to her that there's a very upset girl in the back. They give a combined shrug like, "Oh, Ashley? She's fine. She lives here now." But when he mentions the stack of books in the art section, panic mode. The old man stiffens, mutters, "I'm on it," and rushes off. Chuck pieces out with his books, still confused, still cursed, and passes a bulletin board on the way out. A flyer catches his eye. Friends of gardening meeting, complete with a phone number. Chuck finally cracks open those library books and starts reading about the history of Ashland Falls. You know, the thing he absolutely should have done before buying the real estate. But just as things are starting to get delightfully grim on the page, the doorbell rings. Enter Olivia, Chuck's first piano student in town. Yep, Chuck teaches piano. He seats Olivia at the piano and asks for a simple C major scale. Easy enough, right? Wrong. Olivia assaults the keys like a raccoon on Red Bull. It's a full-blown musical disaster, but Chuck's into it. He likes teaching from scratch. He heads to the kitchen to grab her some water. Then the music starts. Not just music, but flawless, concert-level, soul-haunting piano. Chuck stops mid-pour, looking like he just heard Beethoven's Ghost rise from the grave to flex. He turns around only to find Olivia and not at the piano, but in the kitchen, wide-eyed and whispering that there's a woman playing the piano. Chuck and Olivia rush back into the room, and of course, nobody's there. No piano prodigy, no creepy lady, just that same dusty piano. Olivia nopes right out of there like she's in the opening 5 minutes of a ghost documentary. Girl saw one haunted lesson and chose life. And Chuck's now 0 for 2. Leaky roof, cursed mannequin, and now a piano possessed by a mysterious ghost virtuoso. Chuck is finally broken enough to go do the most cursed thing imaginable: attend a local gardening club meeting. He's greeted by Larry, Ashland Falls' unofficial welcome committee of doom, and led into what looks like an AA meeting, but for spiritually exhausted townsfolk. Chuck tries to play it cool, but everyone's ranting over each other about her. Chuck's like, okay, but seriously, who is this, her? The answer? Helen, the local spectral overachiever. Helen, who apparently unalived herself in 825 Forest Road and has since been terrorizing the entire zip code like a vengeful ghost with a full schedule. The room agrees she won't stop until they find her house and destroy it. Only problem? The house either doesn't exist anymore or is hiding in plain sight like a horror movie Easter egg. Things are spiraling when suddenly a shadow glides past the door, like an actual shadow, not a metaphor, and one of the townspeople stands up, face pale, announcing, "She's here. The meeting's over." Just like that, everyone scatters like cockroaches when the lights come on. Now we zoom in on Isabel's POV since the trio moved into the house. Chuck's sister and the family's resident emotional wreckage, trying to get a grip on life in this nightmare house. While Chuck is off in La La Land stressing over leaks and ghostly piano concerts, Isabel is deep in her own battle with grief. Chuck crashes into her room, and they have that talk, the one about therapy, progress, and whether anything's actually working. Their conversation feels loaded, like years of unresolved family drama is simmering beneath every word. It's painfully clear these two are estranged. Isabel's head isn't in a great place either. Nightmares about their dead mom are creeping in, and honestly, who could blame her? The house seems determined to keep her awake at night. Then, Martha the mannequin incident explodes. Martha somehow ends up outside. Maria immediately suspects Isabel's behind it. Isabel's like, what? No way. I didn't touch that psycho dummy. Cue Isabel storming outside, only to accidentally eavesdrop on Chuck and Larry's conversation in the garden. Larry leaves, and Chuck is left muttering, "How could you do this, Isabel?" while lugging Martha back inside. Later, Isabel is at the piano, softly playing something sad and vaguely haunted, like she's auditioning to be the final girl in a psychological thriller. Enter Chuck, fresh from his top-secret gardening cult meeting. What follows is the kind of long, strained sibling conversation where every sentence feels like a therapy bill waiting to happen. Isabel confesses that she feels off, like the town itself is giving her spiritual food poisoning. Also, fun fact, a girl from school, Ashley, just unalived herself last night. You'd expect Chuck to react like a normal person, but instead, he offers her a prescription. Isabel doesn't want to take pills. Instead, she goes full honesty mode and tells him her heart is broken and she's not okay. Chuck, clearly uncomfortable with emotions longer than a tweet, decides it's time to unload the big tragic secret. Their mom's death wasn't Isabel's fault. It was an accident. She died in a car crash. Isabel was driving. Yes, it's tragic. Yes, it's traumatic. And no, Chuck is not equipped to process any of this. Cut to the next day when the doorbell rings. Chuck is leaving, and in walks Carl, Isabel's new friend from school. He and Isabel head upstairs for some casual town history trauma. But before he can get to the good parts, Maria bursts in demanding to know if Isabel's been in her studio. Isabel, baffled, denies it. Back to Carl, who decides it's the perfect time to spill Ashland Falls cursed tea. In the 1940s, a woman named Helen Foster lived at the mysterious 825 Forest Road. Her daughter Mary was bullied, and after Helen tried to stop it the polite way, letters and complaints, Mary still ended up unaliving herself. Helen snapped, went on a murder spree, took out the bully's entire family, then ended her own life. After that, the town just erased the road from the map. Literally. Poof. Gone. But Helen didn't get the memo. Her ghost stuck around, murdering anyone who tried to bring her story to light, including, years later, members of the town council who thought it was a good idea to locate and destroy her house. Spoiler, Helen destroyed them instead. Carl explains that the Friends of Gardening think they're clever, keeping their anti-Helen meeting secret. But come on, this is a ghost who rewrote city planning. She knows. Everybody knows. Isabel and Maria, decide to play normal humans for a night and go to a gallery opening. The vibe is awkward. Still, they're trying. Points for effort. Then Maria drops a truth bomb. She has bipolar disorder. She's medicated, functional-ish, and perpetually misunderstood by Chuck, who's supportive in a way that a golden retriever is supportive. Well-meaning, but emotionally clueless. Maria, on the other hand, actually gets Isabel. And then, because of course this town can't let anyone have one single peaceful moment, a glass breaks with a dramatic crash that sends the crowd into panic mode. While the gallery herds guests out like confused cattle, Isabel goes full horror heroine and zeroes in on the epicenter, the painting whose glass shattered. And behind that shattered glass, a woman dressed in black, staring out like she RSVP'd to the opening from beyond the grave. The next day, Isabel tells Carl her night terrors are getting worse, and she's convinced she needs to find 825 Forest Road. Carl, who's definitely in the I enjoy being alive camp, is like, I'm not dying for this. But then he drops a little bomb. Maybe Ashley found the house, and that's why she unalived herself. Then Chuck calls. He tells Isabel to come home. Maria's had a scare. Isabel returns to find Maria looking like she's halfway through a nervous breakdown and a seance. Chuck tells them both to pack. He'll be back soon. As Isabel is packing her suitcase, Carl shows up again in her room. She tells him they're leaving because of what happened to Maria. What happened to Maria? Unclear. Vibes, not good. She mentions it's serious, cryptic, tragic. Carl glances at one of Isabel's paintings and goes, "You're really good. That's your mother, right?" Isabel is perplexed how he knows what her mom looks like. Carl says she let him into the house. Isabel informs him that her mom is actually really dead. Carl, very understandably, loses all his nerve and leaves her there, in the haunted house, with whatever the hell just welcomed him in. And then, from the shadows downstairs, a sickly, cracked voice calls out for Isabel to come to Mommy. Maria, now full panic mode, tries to stop her. Isabel is drawn to the voice. Hypnotic, familiar, terrifying. The voice calls her again to come and see what she did to her. That's enough nightmare fuel for 10 therapy sessions. They run for the door, but it's locked. They sprint upstairs. Isabel barricades herself in her room. And then the screams start. Maria screams, blood-curdling, agonized. And Isabel is alone, shaking, frozen, on the other side of the door. Now we switch to Maria's POV. Once a chic city girl, now stuck in Ashland Falls. She's married to Chuck, a man with the emotional range of a potato, and suddenly sharing her home with Isabel, his moody teenage sister she didn't know existed until their mom died in a car crash. She's managing her bipolar diagnosis with medication and mixed results. She tries to maintain some semblance of normalcy, streaming lives from her studio, giving hot takes on yarn textures and handmade sweaters for fall. But her life glitches. As she walked from her studio to the bedroom and back, she notices Martha, her creepy mannequin, has moved. Once facing the room, now facing the window. Silent, watching. And this is when we see her storm into Isabel's convo with Carl, all wild-eyed and panicked, demanding to know if Isabel has been in her studio. Spoiler, Isabel has not. Maria stares down Martha like she's waiting for the thing to confess. Her watch beeps. Time for her meds. She walks to her dresser, unscrews the bottle, and then doesn't take them. Great decision. She goes live again, tries to talk sweaters, cozy design, sustainable threads. Her sister calls mid-live, and she ignores it. Then another call. People are blowing up her phone. Get out of the house. Leave now. Is that mannequin moving? She turns around to see that Martha is gone. Maria loses it, starts searching and finds Martha standing in Isabel's room, spine cracking. Cut to later that night. Martha's funeral. Backyard barbecue edition. Chuck mutters over the fire that it'll be hard to sell the house. No shit, Chuck. You brought your bipolar wife and your trauma-drenched sister to Hellmouth, USA. Maria's sobbing. Chuck promises to fix things and get them out by tomorrow. And then, the haunting levels up. We see the mother ghost again from Maria's eyes. She's stomping around the house. She's calling Isabel to come put the dishes away. Maria and Isabel run. Maria sprints to her studio. She collapses on the floor sobbing. Then the door flings open. No one's there. Then comes the laughter, high-pitched, unhinged, echoing. Then a horrific face appears from under the bed. Maria screams like she's being flayed alive. Later, Maria drags herself to Isabel's room to comfort her. They cling to each other like castaways on a sinking ship. And just as you think maybe it's over for now, Isabel sees Maria's nose is bleeding. The next day, Chuck is doing what all concerned husbands do, watching his wife sleep and checking if she's been popping her pills. Spoiler, she hasn't. Then Carl comes over with breaking news nobody asked for, but everyone needed. Apparently, Ashley, R.I.P. Queen, figured out the coordinates of doom not by following roads like a chump, but by tracing the power grid like a goddamn genius. Turns out the house exists outside of Ashland Falls proper. So, Chuck and Isabel decide to do the only rational thing: burn the house down. But before they can go do that, Bonnie the realtor shows up demanding Chuck do a testimonial. Chuck's not having it, but Maria actually steps in and says she will do it, smiling like someone who drinks battery acid for breakfast. Isabel asks Carl to stay with her and thanks him for everything. Maria sits down in front of the camera and goes full exorcist confessional. Surprise! It's Helen now. Helen hijacks the live stream to do some ghostly TED talk about how it all started with her daughter getting bullied so badly she came home looking like she'd been jumped by the cast of Fight Club. She says she tried everything: letters to the town council, letters to the bully's parents, and no one gave a single flying ghost. So naturally, she went full psycho. Then haunted. We've all been there. Chuck and Izzy head toward the OG house at 825 Forest Road, the origin point of all this unholy mess. They leave the car and enter the decomposing hell cabin like two people in a survival movie who won't make it to the credits. As they explore, Isabel is oddly sympathetic. Chuck, meanwhile, finds a stack of ancient letters with some alarming return addresses. Plot twist: the bully's house was 825 Forest Road, which means the house Chuck brought his family into? That's Helen's house. On the other side of town, Maria is now fully Helen in drag, bleeding from the face and screaming like a banshee who just found out her internet's down. She goes full psycho on Carl, Bonnie, the camera guy. Everyone is running around the house like Scooby-Doo characters with no escape plan. And before Chuck and Izzy can get out of the house, Helen shows up there as well, in her true form, a rage ghost fueled by generational trauma and righteous vengeance. She attacks the siblings. And cut to black. The end. And that was 825 Forest Road, where the scariest thing wasn't the ghost, it was the writing. Don't forget to hit like and subscribe so we can keep sacrificing brain cells so you don't have to. Until next time.